Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with Impa, Fi and Sia. Huge shout out to Cloud Narukami for this story. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. Hyrule, it is a land full of darkness, anger, tragedies and wars. In every age after the creators of the world Din, Naru and Fair have given life to the land. A countless number of battles have occurred over the forces of darkness and the forces of light. These battles have been fought over for the purpose of one object of unlimited power, the Triforce. Split in three parts: power, wisdom and courage. Countless battles have happened over and over, only to search and claim the Triforce, even if it was just only for a piece of the three pieces of the Triforce. In every age, whenever the power of the Triforce had fallen into the clutches of the forces of darkness, there would always be a hero. Dressed in green and wielding his sword in his left hand, this hero would battle for the forces of light and bring a new era of peace to Hyrule. The pieces of the Triforce in every age have always fallen into the same hands. The Triforce of power has always fallen into the clutches of the King of Darkness. The Triforce of wisdom gets passed down to the Princess of Hyrule, and then the Triforce of courage, handed down to the legendary left-handed hero in green. The destinies of these three have always tangled together because of the Triforce. As if a never-ending cycle, the hero wielding the Triforce of courage would fall for the wielder of the Triforce of wisdom, typically as fate would have it would be the princess. But what if things changed? What if fate had different plans? What if the seemingly never-ending cycle was shattered? This is the tale of that possibility. Zelda X. The strong wind blew against her golden locks as they shift from the breeze of the wind around her face. Undisturbed by the breeze, she keeps her eyes closed and continues playing her harp. Sitting on a log in the middle of a field is a young woman, roughly in her late teens. She has golden yellow locks of hair braided into a single ponytail towards the end of her hair, with bangs covering both sides of her face that go all the way to her chest area. She has pointy longer than human ears, a clear trait of a Hyrulian. With a tiara holding a pink gem in the center resting on her forehead. The woman holds an aura you'd find in a princess, yet she doesn't quite appear to be dressed as a typical princess. She wears battle armor that says she's dressed for war. Yet it still manages to hold a certain elegance to it all the while. This Hyrulian is none other than Princess Zelda. That sweet, smoothing music can be heard throughout the fields. Zelda continues her musical performance. A face of peace can be seen on Zelda's face as she speeds up her playing. It had always been a hobby of Zelda's. It started while she was young, about 5 years old. She had spotted a maid playing what appeared to have been a harp and instantly developed a liking to its sweet, smoothing sound and requested lessons as she grew. All around the princess she sees nothing but peace and tranquility. The fields are a lively color of green, the waters are as clear as crystals, the sky is a beautiful cool shade of light blue, without so much as a single cloud occupying the sky, letting the golden sun shine as far as her eye can see. She can see animals of all kinds sitting around her, listening to her performance as if in a trance of peace. Everything seems so at peace. But then things changed. The sky darkened, taking on a dark black color as clouds suddenly appear filling the sky. The lively green fields begin to rapidly decay, going from bright green to lifeless gray. The waters have been polluted into a sickly sea of blood. All the animals that had previously been seated around Zelda quickly dash off into the distance. As if running from something or someone. Turning around, Zelda gasps. Coming right for her is a wave of darkness converging on her position, threatening to swallow her whole. Without hesitation, Zelda begins to flee from the oncoming darkness. It seemed her efforts were for naught as the darkness quickly caught up to her. Closing her eyes, Zelda throws her hands in front of herself in a futile attempt to protect herself from the darkness. No. With a yell, Zelda shoots forward from her bed, sweat falling from her brow, eyes dilated, heavy breathing. Her personal guardian quickly rushes to her side. Zelda's personal guard is one of the captains of Hyrule's royal army, Impa. Impa has silver white hair tied into a little bun at the back of her head, with a single strand going down the right side of her face. She dresses in a typical Shikian battle outfit that has been modified slightly, which is predominantly blue with silver here and there and 2 red feathers hanging off her belt around her waist. Another bad dream? Zelda looks down. It's the same dream haunting me. Impa walks over to Zelda. Perhaps it's a sign of bad omen. Dark times could be upon us. Zelda grips her chest slightly. Dark times? Impa looks over to a table beside Zelda. Looking at the green clothing sitting upon the table with a blue scarf resting on top of it. If it is indeed true. We must locate him. Impa moves herself in front of a window as the sun shines through the blinds. We must find the reborn hero. Zelda quickly gets herself dressed in her usual attire. Then I suppose it would be a wise idea to get started looking. Yes. Impa nods. Indeed it would, your grace. Scene break X. Swish. Fling. Hurg. In the middle of a forest we find a single individual practicing his sword skills. He swings, slashes and stabs various wooden dummies around the training field the young man is in. Cut in various ways such as, in half, sideways, vertical and multiple stab wounds found in various parts of the training dummies. There are signs of all kinds of training that can be found around the training field. There's targets for practicing with a bow, as there are numerous targets with a red bullseye painted in the center, with numerous arrows stuck in the center, displaying the archer has incredible aim, seeing arrow after arrow in the center, with the one shot afterwards crushing the one before it. You can find various weapons lying in weapon holds, for instance, swords of all kinds, bows and arrows, staffs, knives. Proof of whoever resides in this area is a jack of all trades. Swoosh. Applying force into his legs the young man performs a jump slash at his target. The result being, the training dummy is split in half as it falls to either side as the sound of wood meeting ground is heard in the young man's ears. Wiping some sweat from his forehead the figure sheathes his sword into its sheath. Taking a better look at the youth it's found the young man is rather masculine, not too big but not too small, just at the perfect size. The young man possesses a rather tall size considering his young age of 17, sitting comfortably at about 5'7", 173 centimeters. He has predominantly crimson red hair with sun-kissed blonde patches running through crimson red. His hair is naturally spiky up top with some hair largely usually covering his left eye. Through his visible eye you can determine he has azure blue eyes. He wears a high-collar sleeveless black shirt, black pants and crimson boots, and black cloth with red running through it covering his left leg, and his chest is covered by two straps, held in place by a badge. Cloud Strife's outfit from FFVIIAC, but with red mixed in. The youth in question just so happens to be the hero of legend, wielding the Triforce of Courage. Naruto Link Namikaze, or just Naruto L Namikaze for short. Straightening himself up Naruto hears someone calling his name. Turning around he's greeted by a most welcome sight. Walking towards him now is none other than one of his girlfriends. Sia. Sia is a beautiful 17-year-old girl. She has stunning silver light blue hair and amethyst purple eyes. Sia is wearing a one-piece outfit that splits to either sides of her hips that covers most of her legs. She has white feathers that turn purple at the end around her neck. Sitting atop of her head is a most unique hat that splits in half with gold trimmings and a purple crystal in the middle. Where the outfit splits she has a cloth covering her front with white skin-tight clothing covering her legs and white high heels covering her feet. Sia's Guardian of Time outfit. Naruto grew up with Sia. They met early on in their lives, around the time they were 5 years old Naruto's parents came home with Sia in tow. They told him that they had found her while they were out hunting. Apparently Sia's parents had died recently and that Sia couldn't handle staying alone at her home and decided to leave. But as one could guess a 5-year-old all alone would not last very long. Sia had traveled for days and passed out from dehydration when Naruto's parents had found her. Naruto's parents being the kind people they were decided to take her in. After all she would make a good friend for their son. Naruto hadn't met many people in his early life. His parents were always so protective of him and made sure his contact with others were kept to a minimal until he could at least protect himself. Naruto and Sia became the best of friends in no time flat. The two were practically inseparable, they were often teased of behaving like newlyweds by Naruto's parents. That would earn a blush on both children's faces, though Sia's blush was always more intense than Naruto's. As time progressed Sia revealed herself to be a young sorceress in training. This had greatly surprised Naruto and his family. Any kind of sorcerer was rare. The amount of people that were so gifted in the arts of magic was little to none. It wasn't uncommon, it was just rare for people to be able to cast high-level spells. Those that were able to do powerful magic were often regarded as heroes or villains. As magic is amazing it can be used for evil purposes. It has also been noted to sometimes corrupt one's mind. Sia in time had eventually told Naruto the truth about herself, sometime after his parents died from their respective diseases that claimed them early in Naruto's life. Naruto would forever remember what Sia had revealed that day. Flashback 4 years ago. Naruto is currently facing Sia while sitting down in front of one another inside their house that Naruto had inherited after the passing of his parents. Sia fumbles around with her fingers while flicking her gaze between Naruto's eyes and the floor. Naruto. There's something I have to tell you. Naruto nods his head slowly unsure of why Sia is acting so nervous for. I'm listening Sia. He says in a comforting manner while placing his left hand over her nervously fidgeting hands, causing Sia to blush. Well you see I haven't been entirely honest with you or your parents. This confused Naruto if he confused face was anything to go by. What do you mean Sia? Sia's gaze shifts back to the floor. You remember how I said that my parents had died? Naruto nods. Of course I do. What about it? Well, it's that I wasn't entirely telling the truth. Sia pauses. You see, I was once what you would call a guardian of time. Naruto had shock present on his face. Guardian of time? Sia nods. Yes. You know all about the Triforce, yes? Of course I do. Everyone does. What does being a guardian of time have to do with that? Came Naruto's reply. The guardian of time, you see. Is tasked with keeping the balance of the Triforce. A guardian watches to make sure that each piece of the Triforce goes to the correct bearer. As you know, after much time passes, evil rises. Yet as evil rises, so does the hero of legend. That is how things have been since the beginning of time. Sia pauses to look into Naruto's eyes. And as the guardian, I have witnessed time after time how the hero rises and vanquishes the evil incarnate. With evil's bane in hand, the hero triumphs over evil. But as I continued to observe the Triforce, I found myself fascinated by the hero. I fell in love with him by just watching his spirit, his courage. Naruto looked puzzled as to why she had stopped herself and waited patiently for her to continue. Observing the hero, I constantly found him always falling in love with the same person time and time again. Every reincarnation always fell for the same reincarnation. It would seem it was fate that the hero would always fall for the bearer of the Triforce of Wisdom. And what does any of that have to do with why you ceased being the guardian of time? Naruto asked, speaking up for the first time in a while. He saw as Sia's face dropped and looked back to the floor. I stopped being the guardian of time after I couldn't take it anymore. Watching the one I loved to continue to fall for someone else, knowing I would never be that person. Her sudden outburst startled Naruto slightly before he composed himself and took her hand in his, rubbing his thumb on her hand, soothing her. So I just up and left one day. Using my knowledge of magic, I casted a spell that would take me to the realm that the hero dwelled in. What I didn't know was that after casting it, it would also bring about physical changes to myself. I hadn't exactly perfected my magic skills, you see. After the spell had finished, I ended in the forest where your parents found me. And that's how I ended up here. Sia finished her story. Naruto sat there in silence for a minute, taking in the whole story. Sia had dropped quite a bomb on him just now. He'd always figured she wasn't quite normal. Her ears weren't quite as long as the normal Hyrulian. Looking up back into Sia's eyes, he spoke. I believe you. So does this mean you're going to leave in search of the hero? Sia shook her head. What? Why? Didn't you leave your position to be with him? Gazing directly into his eyes, she leaned forward and cupped the side of his face with her hands. I'm not going to go looking for him because. She trailed off, blushing. Because? Naruto blushed at the closeness. Sia was merely inches away from his face. He shivered slightly at feeling her breath against him. Because. I've already found him. Sia finished and closed the distance between them and lip found lip. Sia. Naruto's eyes widened at the act of intimacy before closing them and started kissing Sia back, much to her pleasure. The kiss lasted for minutes as Naruto now had Sia in his lap as his hands roamed Sia's body. Sia shivered and moaned at the way Naruto touched her. She had tears in her eyes, not from pain or fear, but from happiness. After continuing their kiss for moments longer, the two eventually pulled back to breath in air. Panting slightly after his first kiss, Naruto leaned his forehead against Sia's. Moving his head back slightly so he was staring at Sia's eyes. Sia. Being the hero of legend means I'm also the bearer of the Triforce of Courage, correct? Sia nods in return to his question. Of course, love. Why do you ask? Could you train me? Sia's eyes widened slightly. If I am indeed the hero of legend, then that means evil will rise soon, doesn't it? Receiving a nod, he continues. If that is the case, then it would be for the best if I had some training. No. I mean, I'm not just going to become a badass with zero training, pick up a sword and own everything I face. Sia nodded. It made sense. And as the previous guardian of time, that would mean you understand how to use the Triforce, correct? Sia nods her head in affirmation. HMPH. Of course I do, just who do you think I am? Naruto smiles and leans in close, delivering a short kiss, then leaning back. My sorceress girlfriend, who else? Sia giggles in return with a blush on her cheeks. Well, I guess I could teach you, but first, why do you seek power? Naruto looked down in thought. Why do you seek strength? For glory? For fame? Why do you desire power? Naruto's thoughts drift back to the time of his father's passing. Naruto cough. Promise me someday you'll get strong, son, cough cough, strong enough to protect the ones you care for. Never lose sight of yourself, son. Don't let the power corrupt you, I know it will be tempting. So promise me, so become cough cough. Become the hero I know you can be. I will always love you, my son. Those were the last words Naruto ever heard his father speak before he fell into the arms of eternal slumber. I don't care about the fame, the glory. I just want to protect what I care for, to protect those who can't protect themselves. I want to become the hero my parents believed I can be. Naruto spoke each word from the heart and Sia could see that. Haha. I'd expect nothing less of my hero. Chuckling slightly. They both lean in again to engage in another loving kiss. That was the starting point of their relationship. It was a day Naruto would never forget. X flashback and X. And worked him to the bone she did. Sia had much to offer Naruto. Being the ex-guardian of time meant she had a lot of time to learn spells and fighting styles. Though she hadn't perfected everything, she had at least learned how to do things. She just needed to practice them some more. Sia had taught Naruto a great deal of things. She had taught him how to command the elements, though he wasn't as strong as Sia, but that's to have expected, after all she was a guardian of time. Through Sia's teachings he learned the art of Kenjutsu. X flashback X. Arg. Naruto exclaimed after what seemed the millionth time he attempted to perform a simple wind spell. He was currently trying to cut a waterfall in half with just wind magic. Suffice to say it was much easier said than done. He'd had immense trouble just cutting a simple leaf in half with wind magic. He was almost starting to regret asking Sia to stop holding back and training him. Yet as hellish the training was, he knew it would be a lifesaver in the long run. Naruto had taken to swordsmanship like a fish does to water. Naruto believed that to be thanks to his mother's genes, after all she was a most exceptional swordswoman. Only falling short to his late father. Of course it helped that Sia knew various healing spells to patch him up when he got his ass handed to him. Being able to train in their minds, or as Sia referred to it as their inner world, they could train for days in there and only have spent a few hours in reality. It was suffice to say, they spent most of their training in their inner worlds, as it saved time and they could create clones to speed the training up. Oh yes, the clones. Sia explained that the clones were just a fragment of their minds and therefore whatever they leaned so did they. But of course they could only be used in their inner worlds, meaning it was up to them in the real world to increase their muscles and kept up their figures. So that meant all the sword training had to happen in the real world. Naruto learned most of his magic in their inner world. It was far easier to learn magic while connected to Sia's mind. Sia had explained that by connecting one's mind to another's, that created a bond. A bond was a two-way street, she explained. She'd learn what he knew and he'd learn what she did well, not perfectly, just enough to get a grasp of how to do things properly. Out of all the magic elements so far, wind was the one furthest from his grasp. He wasn't by any means a master at the others, just had a decent grip of them. All but wind. Damn it. Why won't it work? Hearing giggling coming behind him, he turned to find Sia, uncovering her mouth. It isn't working, silly, because you're relying on brute force to split the waterfall. You think by pumping a whole lot of magic into it makes it more powerful, yes? Receiving a nod, Sia moved over to him and hit him over the head. Ow. Fool. Magic isn't about how much energy you put into the spell. It's about using the right amount. Sure, applying large amounts of energy into a spell makes it strong. Naruto looked confused. Then what's the probable ow? He's interrupted when Sia strikes him over the head again. It makes the spell stronger, all right. But it also makes the spell unrefined, uncontrolled and undisciplined. Love. Seeing she had his full attention, she continued. Magic is so much more than just a tool, it's alive. And just like any living thing, magic can develop a mind of its own. After all, just who do you think Ganon came into existence? Seeing Naruto's eyes widen, she giggled. Of course at first he wasn't always bad. He used to be a good man. A good sorcerer. But he underestimated magic. He believed it to be nothing more than just a tool. And he paid dearly for that. He used to be a good man that used his magic to help, to protect. But he lost himself at some point. He lost sight what he stood for, what he'd die for. It's tragic, really. Now do you understand why I was so hesitant to get serious about your training, love? I was afraid I'd lose you. Naruto felt like a beep right now. He'd been pushing Sia so hard to teach him all the strong spells. He thought she didn't think he was ready, that he was too inexperienced. How could he have been so blind? Walking over to Sia, Naruto wrapped his arms around her slender figure, gently rubbing her back in a comforting manner. He could feel Sia sigh into his embrace. Sia. I'm so sorry. I've been such an idiot. Can you forgive me? Sia looked at his azure eyes and smiled. I guess I could. Beaud. She trailed off. But. Sia smiled and pecked his nose. You owe me a date. Oh right. After Sia had kissed him, Naruto felt wired. He was happy yet oddly at the same time it felt wrong. He didn't understand it. Sia was practically the only girl he knew. So why would he feel so? What was wrong with him? He told Sia he needed time to process the whole thing. Sia had explained it was his destiny as the hero to fall in love with the bearer of the treasures of wisdom. Oh, of course that was it. Subconsciously, as the supposed hero, Naruto had been unknowingly rejecting Sia's advances. He guessed it must have been the work of the goddess trying to pull his strings. Well, no more. No one controls Naruto Namikaze. Looking into Sia's eyes, Naruto smiled. Leaning in, Naruto delivered a soft kiss to Sia's lips. "I'd love to." Sia squealed in delight and covered his lips with hers. Their relationship may have started a while back, however. This was the true starting point. Perhaps it used to be his fate to fall for the bearer of wisdom. Well, not anymore. Naruto Namikaze forges his own fate. X flashback and X. Genjutsu was an art that was often overlooked, mostly because people couldn't understand the value of it and simply gave up seeing the art was a most difficult one to learn. But with Sia's help, Naruto quickly became a prodigy in the art. Sia had explained that Genjutsu was the way people who couldn't perform high-tier spells a way of performing such feats. It was a brilliant idea, admittedly, by just using small amounts of magic and applying it into ink that was painted with precise strokes, could create things that would leave even the strongest sorcerers amazed. Though Sia admitted much history on Genjutsu was lost through time, as it was a most difficult art to learn, she still was able to pick up the basics, which Naruto seemed to be a prodigy in. He had a weird feeling his father's genes was behind that one. He had at times seen his father using a brush to write odd symbols onto scrolls and whatnot. Curious. While learning of Genjutsu, Naruto came up with an original technique. By combining the magic element of lightning, he came up with a seal formula that allows one to teleport via marker. It was by no means an easy feat. He'd often end up flashing into trees by putting too much energy in the jump or fail short of the target by not putting enough into it. It was a most frustrating technique to create. Yet with time, patience and Sia's knowledge, Naruto did perfect it. He named it the Hyrule. Naruto had also came up with other magic techniques, such as the Rasengan. The Rasengan was an incomplete technique, seeing as Naruto felt that he could still improve it by adding elements to it. That of course was much easier said than done. He came up with a technique by focusing his magic into his palm Naruto, then rotating it for more damage. He was working on adding some elements to the Rasengan, but so far was making the most progress with wind and light. But anyways, back to the present moment. Naruto walks up to one of his girlfriends and lands a short kiss on her lips. Melting into the kiss, he hears Sia moan as she wraps her arms around his neck, bringing him closer. Wanting to taste him more, Sia licks the bottom of Naruto's lips and asking permission to enter his mouth. Naruto allows and opens his mouth and tongue meets tongue in a heated battle to dominate one another's mouth. Not feeling like playing fair, Naruto cups Sia's fine plump ass and gives it a squeeze, making her open her mouth more with a squeal. "Now, that was cheating." She pouted cutely. Naruto chuckles. "Maybe, but all's fair in love and war, no?" He responds cheekily, receiving a playful slap to the shoulder. "Meanie," she continued pouting, puffing out her cheeks. "Master?" Came a soft melodic voice from behind the two. Turning around, Naruto's quick reaction kicks in, catching the figure that made jumped at him. "Fi. How many times have I told you to stop calling me master?" Fi was originally the spirit residing in the goddess sword. Naruto had come across the goddess sword while out hunting with Sia. The sword seemed to call out to him, so he proceeded to pull it from its pedestal. Fi appears to be a light blue female humanoid figure with no eyes. Wearing a type of overcoat that splits at the middle, covering her arms most of the time. The left side is light blue and the right is a dark purple with a blue diamond sitting where the cloak splits. Hi has what seems to be black skin suit cover her legs with blue laces all around her legs. X flashback X. Naruto wasn't sure exactly how long he and Sia had been walking. While Naruto was training, he swore he'd heard something, calling him, telling him to come find it. Sia took that as some sort of sign that a mystical item spirit was reaching out to him. Apparently this item spirit also felt like testing him too. As they had traveled, they had come to find a temple in the deep into the forest. The weird thing was the temple was in perfect condition. And was also filled with monsters. Monsters of all kinds tried their luck at devouring the couple. They were either dealt with a simple slash from Naruto's sword or Sia's magic. Entering a room within the temple, Naruto saw a sword buried in a pedestal on the other side of the room. Weird. It just happens to be way over there. Totally unguarded by some kind of giant monster, no doubt. I'm sure I'll just walk straight over there, pick it up and walk up without the need to kill so big ass monster. Sia giggled at her boyfriend's childish antics. He could be such a child at times. Well then, I'm sure the ever fearless bearer of the Triforce of Courage has no problem in fetching the sword alone, no? Sia teased him. Finny. Just watch my back, yeah. Ooh, I might do more than just watch that sexy firm ass. Cough, I mean sure thing. She finished with a smile and thumbs up. Naruto's sweat dropped. Well, here I go. Naruto drew his blade and slowly made his way over to the blade, Sia keeping a watchful eye. About when he reached halfway, his instincts went off. Quickly rolling to his side, he managed to evade a blow that would have blown a hole in his side. Called it. Naruto rubbed in Sia's face. Sia rolled her eyes. Really, we're in the middle of a fight and now you wanna rub it in? Naruto chuckled. She was so cute when she was mad. The beast that had attempted in maiming Naruto moments earlier appeared to be a giant bat. "Well, aren't you ugly one?" Naruto stated to no one in particular. The bat was at least 5 to 8 meters tall, giant claws that could easily pierce through most shields with ease, long talons the size of a full-grown man and pitch black eyes that seemed to pierce your soul. Truly a beast that would make most wet their pants. Too bad Naruto and Sia weren't among those. Without hesitation, Sia summoned forth a magic circle that glowed dark blue. Finishing the spell, Sia unleashed a giant water drop that moved at dazzling speeds towards the bat. "Erg." The bat screeched out in pain. Recovering quickly, the bat took off into the air. With a battle cry, the bat dived towards Naruto with its talons out ready to grab him. Seeing it coming miles away, Naruto ran, then slid across the ground, avoiding the talon successfully. Rolling back onto his feet, Naruto looks over to Sia as the bat returns back into the air. "Sia, give me a lift." Sia nodded. Summoning forth a magic circle in green-silver color, Sia brought forth a sudden breeze as Naruto jumped into the air, giving him a forceful push, shooting him off like a rocket towards the bat. "Eat this." Naruto coated the blade in a yellow-gold color as lightning appeared around it. He slashed at the bat. "Erg." The bat lost its balance before regaining it, before it fell to the ground. Screech. "Oh hell, not it's pissed." Batting its wings like a madman, the bat brought forth waves of air that pushed Sia off her balance and crashing into the wall, out cold. "CIA. Damn you." Naruto's brain kicked into overdrive. As much as it hurt his pride to admit it. He knew Sia was stronger than him, by a long shot. He only knew the basics of magic, they'd hardly even touched the stronger spells yet. "What do I do?" Naruto panicked. Without Sia in the battle, that took out his chances of hitting the bat whilst it remains airborne. Waiting for it to come to him was risky. He was at a loss of what to do. No. I won't give up. I promised my parents. I promised Sia. I will not be defeated here. Looking at a bat with nothing but determination, Naruto's left hand started glowing as the Triffus appeared, proving his status as the legendary hero. "Master?" A soft female voice came into Naruto's head. Naruto looked around the room, keeping the bat in the corner of his eye. "Who's there? Show yourself." Naruto looked over to the sword within the pedestal to see it glowing. "Master? Draw me. Analysis detects you have a 100% of winning, should you draw me, master." The spoke again. "Oh, what the hell?" Naruto shrugged before breaking into a sprint across the room. He could see the bat was making a move to intercept him. "Ooh, no you don't." Unleashing a dose of lighting at the bat, while not harming the creature much, got the job he intended done. Seeing it distracted the bat for a few moments, Naruto continued dashing towards the sword. Jumping the stairs towards the sword, Naruto rested his hand on the handle of the sword. "What exactly are you?" "I am one of the few existing goddess swords, master. I am the Skyward Sword. I have been waiting to meet you for a very long time, master." A flash of light and a spirit appeared next to him. "You may refer to me as Fi, master." Fi states. Naruto nods. "Alright Fi. So how do I beat this thing?" Fist gem on her forehead glows for a second. "Master. I recommend you perform a Skyward Strike." "Skyward Strike? How do I do that?" "Simply raise your me skyward, wait a moment for me to gather enough energy, then bring me down with force." Naruto nods. Raising his sword skywards, Naruto pauses for a moment. He sees the bat charging towards him. Hearing a zing, Naruto brings the blade down with a battle cry. "Hurg." A light blue energy comes bursting from the skyward sword and carving up the ground as it makes its way towards the bat. The bat never stood a chance, the skyward strike teared it into pieces. Fainting. Naruto begins panting. "Well damn CIA." Naruto rushes to Sia's side, checking her over for any damage. He releases a sigh, she had a few cuts and bruises here and there. But other than that she'd be fine. Naruto cradles Sia into a protective hug, smiling when Sia snuggles into his chest. Fi observes the scene with odd feeling in her chest. Odd beepasis indicates an unknown sensation flowing through me. Require further information for proper findings. Fi files those thoughts for later and moves over to her master's side. X flashback and X. At first Fi came off as robotic-like. Never showing any emotion and always referring to him as master. Of which she still does. It took Naruto some time, but Naruto being him eventually broke through Fi's robotic attitude. Though despite all the show she put on the outside, Naruto could tell she was a gentle soul. Fi had taught him ways of adapting all the styles he'd learned training with Sia into using the skyward sword. Fi also referred to him as master or master Naruto about 90% of the time. That annoyed him somewhat, he hated it when being called master. He'd much rather just be called Naruto. From then on Fi started to show emotions, though only around Naruto and Sia so far. At some point when Fi developed emotion she swiftly fell in love with Naruto. X flashback 2 years ago X. Master Naruto. There is a 99% chance that I have Developed romantic feelings for you. Fi stated, shocking both Naruto and Sia. Naruto had suspected Fi had some kind of feelings for him. After all, he didn't miss all the glances Fi stole at him whenever she thought he wasn't looking, or when she'd brush herself against him when teaching him how to use the goddess sword, pressing her chest against his back. He also noticed how she looked at him. She held such love and affections in the way she gazed at him. He knew it was love and affection from the way Sia would always look at him. Naruto was unsure on how to proceed in this situation. He already had a Sia, he truly loved her and wouldn't dream of cheating on her. Yet at the same time he had fallen for Fi as well. Whether it was her soft, gentle and loving nature. Naruto knew he had fallen for her. Despite these feelings, he wasn't about to just dump Sia for Fi. The only solution he saw in this kind of situation was if they shared him. But Naruto wouldn't dare asking this of either of them. It would make him seem like some kind of playboy by doing so, and he respected women, always treated them as they were, equals to men. Naruto was truly dumbfounded. He couldn't come up with a solution that would work and wouldn't break anyone's heart. Master Naruto. I detect that there is a 5% chance that a relationship between us would work. Even if Mr. Sia wasn't already in a relationship with you. I am just a spirit created to guide my wielder. Master. If you would like, I could terminate these feelings if by doing so would make your choice in the situation easier. Naruto's eyes widen. I don't believe that will be necessary, Fi. Sia spoke up. Her eyes were closed. Mr. Sia. Sia puts a comforting hand on Fi's shoulder. Such an action won't be necessary because. Sia paused. Fi could feel her non-existent heartbeat against her chest. Because I don't mind sharing him with you. If Fi had eyes, they would be as wide as saucers right now. Kind of like how Naruto's are right now. Mr. Sia. I say this because Fi. I understand what it feels like to want someone you think you could never have. But understand this, Fi. I am the alpha female here, understood? Don't get me wrong, I'm not fond of sharing. But I can adjust. Fi nodded her head rapidly. Hi, Mr. Sia. Fi embraces Sia in a hug. Never in Fi's wildest dreams did she think she would ever be given the chance of love with her master. Not that I'm complaining or anything, but we do recall how she is a sword spirit, right? Naruto asked. Sia pulls away from the hug, taking on a thinking position. Well, I have a few thoughts on that matter. Sia points to Naruto's left hand. The Triforce of Courage. Sia nods. Yes. You see, love, the Triforce's power is infinite. Even just a fragment is capable of tremendous power. It would be a rather simple task to make Fi here, gesturing to Fi with her hand. Into a half spirit, half Hylian. Only half, Mr. Sia? Questions Fi. Sorry, Fi. But I'd say with the full power of the Triforce, it would be as simple as breathing to turn you into a full Hylian. But I'm afraid for now we lack the other two pieces. Fi looked depressed at hearing that. Resting a hand on Fi's should, Naruto leans in. Hey Fi. Don't you sweat it. I promise you, I will make you Hylian someday. That's a promise of a lifetime. Naruto smiles brightly at Fi, who could feel her cheeks darken. So for now just have faith, okay? Fi nods. Hi. Naruto. Smiling, Naruto leans in to deliver a kiss to Fi's lips. Fi's lips have an odd texture, almost liquid substance yet solid. Either way, Naruto can't get enough of her. Moving his hand down Fi's sides causes her to moan into the kiss. Breaking away from the kiss with a sigh, Naruto looks over to Sia, who is currently smiling at the situation. Now then, Sia. By turning her into half spirit, half Hylian, will she still be able to move to and from the goddess sword? She should still be able to do everything she has been a bit to so far. In theory. In theory. Yes, well, I have never actually attempted such a thing before, so I don't actually have anything to go off here. Naruto nods. I'm just assuming this will be the results, after all I have observed the Triforce for a long time now. Right. So how do we do this? Simply rest your left hand on Fi and focus very hard. I've trained you on using the Triforce before, but this will require more power than you have used before. Focus on your desire, focus on Fi. Taking every word to heart, Naruto places his left hand on Fi and begins focusing. Fi. Sweat rolling down his face, Naruto puts all he has into his efforts. Soon enough a blinding light consumes Fi. Fi. Naruto shouts in fear that he heard her. Feeling a hand on his shoulder, he turns to see Sia. Fret not, love. You did nothing wrong. Just wait. In moments the bright light dies down, revealing Fi. Fi doesn't appear to have changed physically other than she looks slightly younger. If Naruto had to guess, he'd say about his and Sia's age. X flashback and X. I believe you have told me not to call you master approximately 2,598 times. Master. Naruto chuckles. You cheeky little, he is cut off when Fi crashes her lips onto her master's lips. Oh, how she loved tasting his lips, they held such warmth, such emotion, it drove her insane. She smiled at feeling him return her kiss. Ahem. Sia coughs into her hand, gaining the two's attention. Yes, Mr. Sia. Fi asks while holding on to Naruto rather possessively, earning a eyebrow twitch from Sia. The whole reason I came outer was to tell you something, Naruto. Oh yeah? What's that, Sia? Sia's face turns serious, making Naruto and Fi do the same. It's begun. The forces of evil advance towards the castle. How much time do we have? A few hours at best. Fi returns to the skyward sword, Naruto sheathes her against his hip. Ready, Epona. And prepare for battle. Zelda X. It was in the early afternoon, Zelda and Impa find themselves overlooking the trainees practicing. Though Impa looks a tad put off, gazing at the new recruits. Your Grace, I don't believe we will find the hero of legend in the newly recruited trainees, Your Grace. You never know, Impa. Besides, every hero has to start from the bottom, no. Even you was once a newbie, as they say. Impa sighed and reluctantly found herself agreeing with Zelda. I suppose you are right, Your Grace. Still, I believe we would have better chances finding him at the veterans training field. Maybe you are correct, Impa. But maybe you are wrong. I suppose we'll know when we find him. Your Majesty, pardon me, but I bear grave news. Came the thundering voice of a Soliter that ran up to Zelda and Impa and quickly kneeled. Speak. Stated Impa. The soldier nodded. Scouts have spotted an enemy army heading this way. Zelda's and Impa's eyes widen. What? What kind of venoms? Who leads them? From what the scouts were able to discover, they are bokoblins. As for who leads them is currently Uknan. Informed the Solder. Zelda turns to Impa. Impa, prepare the troops. We're going to war. Understood, Your Grace. The troops were readied in under an hour, all Solders stand battle ready, dressed in their armors, and wielding their swords and shields standing on the drawbridge to the castle. Impa stands at the front of the forces, wielding her unnaturally large katana broadsword mix beside Zelda. Zelda turns to face her army to deliver her speech. Finishing up, she points out at the enemy. I order each and every one of you. Come back alive. She throws her hand in the air as the troops cheer at their princess's words. For Hyrule. She yells and charges at the enemy. Naruto and company. They had been traveling for hours on end. Traveling upon his trusted steed Epona was Naruto and Sia dressed in their usual outfits. Fi was currently residing in the goddess sword strapped to Naruto's side. Naruto, look up ahead. We're coming up out of the forest and into Hyrule Field. Sia informed Naruto, who nodded. Master. I am detecting signs of battle occurring up ahead. It would seem the war has already begun. Fi spoke up from inside the goddess sword. Epona, we need to go faster. Naruto hit Epona's side. Epona begins to gallop even faster than before. When Naruto had first met Epona, she had been wild horse. Epona would always run from anyone who ever came close to her and would even start kicking at them when they tried to ride her. Naruto had come across her in the forest as she was drinking from a river. As he came out of the bushes, Epona immediately turned to face what came out and saw Naruto. Naruto approached her cautiously. Epona made no effort to move away from Naruto. If anything, she trotted slowly towards him, meeting him halfway. She sighed in content when he patted her head and nuzzled into his hand. Snapping out of his thoughts, they had finally made it out of the forest and could see the royal castle. Sia gasped at seeing the battle raging on. Hand covering her mouth. It's horrible. She stated. Horrible it was indeed. There were soldiers of both sides bathed in blood lying on the ground lifelessly. The battle was still raging on, all around the bodies were soldiers engaged in combat, steel met steel, and steel met blood. Master. I detect that the royal army stands only a 60% chance of winning this battle. Recommend you assist them. Fi stated. Naruto nods. Right. Sia, prepare for battle. Sia puts on a face of determination and nods. Summoning forth her staff wand. Naruto smiles and brings Sia in for a quick kiss. Fi appears and claims her kiss after Sia pulled back. Well, girls, we have a war to win. Upon hearing their affirmation, Naruto kicks Epona's sides to charge into the fray. Impa X. Damn it. Would I listen to the Princess, Impa thought as she slashed through another bokoblin. It seemed no matter how many she cut down, more just kept coming. They just kept coming, like a hydra, cut off one head, two takes its place. Zelda had somehow managed to convince Impa to remain with the troops as she was heading to the one of the Great Fiery's fountain to ask for her aid in battle. Impa had insisted on going with her, however Zelda had made the point that Impa's presence on the battlefield was necessary for the troops' morale. Most reluctantly did Impa agree. TCH. We won't last much longer. The royal army had already lost a few captains, which resulted in loss of morale with the troops. Some had fled, others were simply killed. Either way, things were not looking too bright for them. Nay. Impa hears a hoarse neigh and she turns. Eyes widen upon seeing a red-haired young man and a silver-haired girl sitting upon a horse, galloping towards the battle. If possible, her eyes widen even more at spotting the goddess sword in the redhead's hand. The young redhead raises the sword skyward as the sword charges up in an azure blue light. Binging it down with force, upon bringing down the sword it releases a skyward strike, which takes out at least over a dozen of enemies and still counting. Impa had heard the legends of the goddess swords. Supposedly there were only a few of them in existence. Each held a different shape and spirit guide. Yet out of all of them only one went on to be forged as the legendary blade known as Evil's Bane. The Master Sword. The young man jumped off his horse and dove headfirst into the battle, taking out more bokoblins as he did. The young women also dismantled off of the horse and landed with grace. Impa couldn't make out what the girl was saying, but what came next shocked her to the core. A torrent of water came into existence from a blue magic circle and proceeded to take out 20 bokoblins, while wetting more. Again Impa couldn't make out the words coming out of the sorceress's mouth. A yellow gold magic circle formed. Out of the circle came lightning which shocked all the wet bokoblins to death, frying them alive. Who are these people? Watching the girl, it was more than apparent she was a sorceress of a high caliber, seeing she was busting out high-tier spell after spell without so much as looking winded in the slightest. Yet despite the girl's amazing magic, Impa found herself more drawn to the young redhead. He was tearing up enemies left and right, even occasionally performing a spell every now and then. She had to admit, even in the heat of battle the young man definitely had the body to die for, his tight clothing hugging his well-shaped muscles. Just the way Impa liked them, not too big, yet not too small either. She found herself blushing at these thoughts. Keep it together Impa, we're in the middle of a war and her grace is still very well in danger. This isn't the time to be acting like some maid meeting a prince. Impa thought, not noticing her blade falling out of her grip. Her warrior instincts going off, she barely managed to dodge a fireball threatening to burn her alive. Turning around she sees as what could be described as a dragon knight. Who are you? Do you lead these creatures? Impa shouted at the dragon knight, who just smiled. Me? Leading them? Ha. Please, I have better standards than these things, I assure you. As for whom I am Volga. Impa's face hardened. If you don't lead them then who does? Volga chuckles. Afraid I can't say. Orders are orders. Then why is this person attacking? Volga begins laughing, something that is royally pissing Impa off. Hahaha. Don't know, don't care. I'm just here to fight. Volga's right arm changes in a burst of flames into a dragon spear. The spear lunges at Impa, who was caught off guard. Won't reach my blade in time. Her blade was but a few feet away, but at the rate the fireball was coming at her, she wouldn't even make it halfway before being burnt alive. Yeah. I don't think so. Came a calm voice that sent shivers down Impa's spine. The voice sounded so strong, confident and so hot. Bad Impa. Bad. Looking up she saw the fireball disperse around the young redhead as he had apparently slashes it in half. Ooh. You actually managed to slice my attack in half, did you? A wild grin appeared on Volga's face. Then perhaps you will offer me a better challenge, will you? The young man made no signs he heard Volga and turned to face Impa. Impa could feel her heart rate increase, threatening to burst from her chest as the young man flashed her a charming smile. Are you alright down there? Impa could only nod, not trusting her voice at the moment. This feeling was so foreign to the Shikian guardian. Her actions earned her a soft laugh from the young man. Shaking her head she fought down the blush on her cheeks. Thank you for the save. Not to be rude, but who are you? The young man smiled and offered her his hand. She took it with a blush and quickly grabbed her blade. My name is Naruto Link Namikaze. Naruto turned to Volga. The one who's gonna kick your ass. How's it going? So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video guys. Let me know in the comments section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video. Bye bye.